I do not own the rights to any videos or any music that I share. Just my opinion and some facts. Welcome live, reporting from the South Side. Good evening, everybody. Welcome all, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, Jews and Gentiles, Catholics and Protestants. We are live. Today's show, we'll be talking about the border crisis and critical race theory, which has been all in the news and everybody has an opinion about it. More violence here in Chicago. Four stabbings in the loop, including a scholar who was here visiting. More people pleading for the violence to stop. Where's Mayor Sugerfoot? And the video's up. Rise and fall of Mayor Sugerfoot. All right, let's get into the show. All right. First and foremost, let's get right into it. Uh, well, the border. Well, thank God for President Trump, because if we didn't have President Trump, Kamala Harris wouldn't even be going to the border, let alone interested about going to the border. Joe Biden's been in office 160 something odd days. I've lost track. Who cares? I mean, it's coming to an end soon. So let's talk about why we have a problem at the border. And the real issue at the border and all this human trafficking, these child smuggling, the sex trafficking, and murders at the border. People thrown in the Rio Grande River, children being left, crying and pleading out for people to come get them, and just being left at the border. It's not right, and somebody should say something about it or do something about it or let it be known what's really going on at the border. So, since Biden took office, and I use that word loosely, took office, um, here are some of his policies. He was to reverse all Trump policies and Trump's asylum policies and the wait in Mexico policy, which was working because in order to come to a different country, and this is world law, you have to apply in the country you're at, then come to the next country that is attached to your country, and then from that country you have to go to another country, and then you can come to whatever country you want to. It's like a three-country rule. You can only go over three countries. So these people are leaving from Guatemala, Honduras, Brazil, Mexico, and just coming straight here. No asylum papers, no amnesty papers, no legal immigration. I'm all for immigration. Granted, my people didn't have the rights for legal immigration. We were sort of brought over here, and then I'm a proud born American. But, if you want to learn your history, you should know your history. But I'm all for legal immigration. Not jumping the border, not committing a crime, not jumping the wall or jumping people's chances who are here legally under visas, green cards, and working towards their citizenship and want to be regular U.S. citizens so they can vote and pay taxes. If you're here illegal, you can't vote, you can't pay taxes, so you're not contributing anything. And people want to argue this money's going here or welfare is being spent on this, but there are a bunch of illegal immigrants, and I don't care who you are or what country you're from, you're here illegally, so we'll say a bunch of illegal immigrants here not paying taxes and getting to collect all their money and not pay taxes. Who wants to pay taxes? No one likes to pay taxes, but yet you can be an illegal immigrant here and not pay taxes. Okay. So I guess that works for some. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't jive well with me because I pay my taxes. So he wants to end the Wait in Mexico policy. He wants to send more money to groups to help at the border. I mean, reinstate children sponsors for minors, you know. So he repealed the Trump era where you had to go through a background check in order to come get a minor at the border, you know, whether you're Health and Human Services, CPS, or a foster parent, you know. But Joe Biden took that away where you had to go through a background check. So there's a bunch of pedophiles, other gang members who are on this side of the border coming to pick up children and whatnot. The the Trump era policies that separated families at the border, he wasn't separating families at the border unless you can prove you were that family. And when you have smugglers, coyotes, and people bringing over children for sex slaves and pedophilia and work slaves and whatnot, he had to prove with a DNA swab, birth certificate, something. You had to prove that this was your child, this is your family. So I don't understand the whole argument on, well, Trump was separating families at the border. Yeah, with good reason. You know, he's not just taking families from each other and saying you can't go with your family. No, you're accepted in, but you have to prove that's your family. And for me, the kicker is that when people defend it, they're like you're defending people giving up their children to strangers to travel to the border. That's across 2, 3 countries, 5,000 miles with these strangers. Okay, well, I guess that's your argument. You can stick to it, but it's wrong. And no good parent in their mind would just give up their kids for any reason. Um, then the anchor babies, he wants to reinstate that. So if you come here illegally and then you have a baby, you can stay here because your baby's an American citizen. That's in the Constitution that if you're born here, you're an American citizen. But if you're illegal, if your parents are illegal, they're not citizens. So that's kind of a catch-22 right there. I don't believe it's right. I'm all for legal immigration. That's it's just legal immigration. The travel ban for Muslims, he lifted that. There are a lot of terrorist countries, so to speak, that hate America. After he did that, we had a few attacks. The gunman in Utah was Muslim. Uh, the Taliban is kicking up. We're about to leave Afghanistan. Iraq, Middle East, Syria, Libya. They all have anti American sentiment. So we'll see how that plays out. I don't care if you come here. I'm all for legal immigration. Say it with me now. It's like back in the day when you were watching Pee Wee's Big House. Say secret word, illegal immigration. Yay! You know, that's crazy. So, um, travel man he's having ICE stand down. He's giving immigrants monies, loans, grants, trainings. Still hasn't passed any anti-hate bill for black folks or put any money into community schools, or they're pushing that critical race theory, but putting any money into community schools, there's bloodshed in the streets. People are dying in Baltimore, Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, San Francisco, uh, especially here in Chicago. I mean, people are getting stabbed, attacked on the L. There's a shooting every day. Somebody was just shot earlier today. 2 people were shot earlier today. It's crazy. I think I have that story. I'll get into it. More visas, catch and release. That was so popular, you know. So we'll arrest you, take down your information, give you a court date. You might have to come back in 3 to 5 years. Do you think these people come back? Do you think they're getting their real name? I mean, if they paid to get up here illegally, you don't think they have the means or money or could work out a new ID or a new social security card or a new, you know. So good luck with that. We've had open borders forever now since he took since he 6 hours into his office. We're live, so we don't edit. 6 hours into him taking office, he opened the border. So I don't understand what the deal with that was. So far, there have been 20,000 children plus. So you know when they give you a number out loud, it's you gotta double it. So if they're saying 20,000 children came, 20,000 minors came across the border, it's more like 40,000 minors that came across the border. You know, so some of Trump's policies, he wanted to build a wall. You know, for a secure border, call it what it is. You can say it's racist, but not only Mexicans and people from south of the border are coming over illegally. There's people from Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Russia. I mean, people come from everywhere through the southern border because it's not secure. I mean, you can't come through Canada because Canada is secure, but you can make your way through the southern border, especially if you pay a coyote or two. I'm just saying, there's ways to get in. He wanted to build a wall, arrest illegal immigrants, charge them with federal law, make it a federal law and a state law, expedite your court proceedings. So you come in, get your court proceedings, you go back to your country, and then if you really want to get into the country that bad, boom, there you go, you're here, welcome. He tried to hire more asylum officers. He tried to get the attorney general involved also, but he really wasn't want to. The arrest, detain, and deport from ICE. So we arrest you. You're here illegally. You're going back home. We put you on a plane, whatever. He was stopping child sex trafficking at the border, and this was Trump. And he was sending kids back home to their parents. So these kids were snatched up, taken up, and being sent back home to their parents. So that was a good thing. That was a good thing. Refugee ban, January 25th of 2017, and that was for terrorists who hate America. That was Trump's policy. He wanted to that. So, I mean, what's in so no one wanted a wall. Some Republicans fought him. All the Democrats fought him about not wanting the wall. He made a joke one time that if he said he didn't want the wall, then it would be built. And then, barring all the riots, the city's burning down, Chicago Mayor Lightfoot protecting the Mag Mile in downtown, lifting the bridges to cut everybody off, that they protect that and let everything else burn down with BLM and Antifa protests all summer. And then the Capitol gets ran up in, and then, everybody builds a wall around the Capitol and all that. For some reason, we don't know, but they didn't want a wall to secure the border. Illegal immigrants account for 95% of the murders, 75% are wanted, 35% are in jail. Half of gangs that come in, MS-13. We know that. We see the prisons built in South America. We see them all in here in detention centers here in ICE. That MS-13 is a huge gang that operates on the border. There's drug cartel that operates on the border. They're seizing a lot of fentanyl, pounds and tons after tons, not pounds, tons after tons of fentanyl, cocaine, methamphetamine. It's just like we don't care about anything that's going in, So they're shipping. So during the pandemic, before they started lifting mandates, they were schooling kids, in-person schooling. And all they're talking about is the COVID outbreak. They're making the COVID seem like it's a big deal, big deal, big deal. But all these illegal immigrants coming in, it's not a big deal. All of a sudden, COVID's not a big deal. So that tells you where their priority was while they're on COVID. So let's see. Joe Biden spent $86.9 million. Gave it to 1,200 families. So that equaled out to $72,416 per family. While he's giving us, that $600 and $1,200 check? But he's giving out $72,000 to illegals. They have spent $1,241,428.57 for hotels for illegal immigrants. There's veterans, there's homeless people, there are people with mental illness problems. There's kids here on the south side that are homeless or have no place to go. But, we're spending $1,241,000, $428.57 for hotels. So on top of that, each family would get like an additional $1,034.52. Not bad. So he spent $86.9 million on this. There's 85 million left. 85,586,155 dollars and 40 cents left over. Where'd the rest of this money go? Oh, that's right. We got to put them on planes, buses, trains, airplanes, because we got to feed our pockets, our donors. We got to get that out there. We got to give our donors some money. We got to give the airlines some money, so we put them on the trains or the planes. We got to give Amtrak some money, so we put them on the trains. We got to give the buses some money, so we put them on Greyhound. So that's how we spread that money out. That they already got money from the pandemic, but now you're getting that extra Joe Biden money because you voted for him, you manipulated the polls, you stole the election, so now he's got to pay you back. Now he's got to pay you back. So it's crazy. And we just have endless, endless, endless tragedy at the border
A shocking discovery
and things that are
River here
disgusting.
found 5 unaccompanied migrant children abandoned on their property.
They found the children over the weekend at a ranch off Highway 277 between Eagle Pass and Del.
This is crazy.
Between Eagle Pass and Del Rio. The ages of the 5 girls range from 7 years old to just 11 months. Vanessa Croy, the Ken 5 border team, is in.
5 girls.
The rancher's story they're sharing only with Ken's 5.
Well, from where I'm standing, you can see Mexico on the other side of the river here. This ranch includes 5 miles.
Now, some of you probably didn't even hear the story or wouldn't even know about it.
They've seen migrant traffic pick up, including a group of 50 that crossed just a few weeks ago. But they said what they found over the weekend was the worst thing they'd ever seen.
These are babies. These are babies.
On the side of the river here on our farm.
With frustration in her voice,
If this doesn't make you mad and want you to take to the streets, I don't know what will.
Katie Hobbs recorded the situation unfolding right.
It's like people are numb to seeing kids. You care about immigrants and people coming across the border, but you don't care about the babies.
They didn't know where their parents were.
Sunday morning, Hobbs said her husband discovered 5 migrant children.
5 babies.
Mother's Day morning, about 8.
5 babies.
A picture of 5 little girls laying in the dirt on a dirty blanket down here on the river.
That don't make no sense.
And abandoned on their farm.
He thought one of them.
None at all.
Border Patrol officials said the 5 girls were from Honduras and Guatemala. The oldest child was 7 years old. The youngest, just 11 months.
11 months to 7. 11 months to 7 years
Hobbs
old.
said her husband finished his evening round at 6 the night before. Didn't find them until early the next morning.
They were here all night alone. Jimmy said they were weeping and crying when he found them. And they stopped crying when they realized they were going to get some help.
The other 2 people you see in the video are farm employees trying to communicate with the girls in Spanish.
They couldn't say anything about their parents or where they were.
Hobbs said in the decades they've lived on the ranch, they've had occasional crossings, but nothing like they've seen in the last few months. And she said she fears it will only get worse.
Our summers are about to get brutally, brutally hot. And it is going to be a killing field if something is not done. Look at this.
In Maverick County with the Ken's 5 border team, I'm Vanessa Kroll.
Border Patrol agents transported the children to the holding facility in Uvalde until they're transferred into the custody of Health and Human Services. Officials said the girls were all in good health and did not need medical treatment.
So there was 5 children. 5 little girls that were found by themselves from the age of 11 months to 7-year-old. So I ask you, where's the outrage? Where is the anger? Kamala Harris was commissioned to go to the border 95 days ago. She went to Honduras, she went to Guatemala, she went to Mexico. They said the trip was a disaster. She said, oh, when asked why had she been to the border, she laughed. Well, I haven't been to Europe yet. Okay. That made absolutely no sense. I mean, absolutely no sense at all. So you haven't been to Europe and you're tasked to go to the border? I mean, so that doesn't mean if you were tasked to go to Europe, you would go faster? Because It was like you were mad you couldn't be behind Joe Biden at the G7 summit, which was also a disaster because Putin put the smack down on him and basically can do whatever the hell he wants now. Um, so I don't get it. I don't understand why she's mad or why she's not doing her job. There's a crisis at the border. There are children dying. There are children being smuggled. There are children being stolen. There are old people trying to come across the border. Everybody's trying to come across the border. The border agents are racked to the fullest. You're talking about here where Chicago police officers get to work 12-hour shifts and they're tired. Imagine how a border agent is. That's 24 hours nonstop. And sometimes they even got it in shifts where they come in, color coded bracelets, tells you how much the cartel owes you, how much you're into the cartel, all sorts of crazy stuff. They're tracking them, they're monitoring them, and there's mainly girls and women coming in, little girls and women, and now there's grown men coming in, and then some of them come in under the guise of, oh, this is my family and stuff, and they just let them right through. They don't check, can't check, don't do nothing. Just catch and release, catch and release, catch and release. That's how's that going? That's basically what our criminal system is right now too. It's a lot of catch and release because no one's being arrested, no one's being prosecuted. Just like this at the border, there's cartel member, there's coyotes, there's people smuggling. No one's being arrested, no one's being prosecuted. In order to go across the border and take out these cartels and take out these people, we're the United States government. We're the United States of America. Forget the United States government. We're the United States of America. FBI, ATF, DEA, the Army, National Guard. Governor Abbott said he wasn't having it anymore. Governor Abbott of Texas said he's going to build his own border wall. That's probably why Trump is coming down there to bring his commission, bring his guys. I got some guys. He probably said, don't worry about it. I got some guys. Good old Trump fashion. He probably got some guys to come down, look at the border, build some border, activate the National Guard. I don't know what's going to happen. But I guarantee you the cameras will be down there then. They'll be focused on the border then, because when they start turning people away and arresting more people and plugging up the holes they have in the in the in the border, then the cameras go down there. Then people will be interested in what's going on. We'll see, because she's supposed to go to the border tomorrow, and then Trump will be there next week. But we'll see what she goes to the border and says. Something should happen. She should be announcing something, but we'll see. We'll see. One can only hope that they actually care about the dreamers and the DACA people and the children being trafficked and all these children being sold into slavery and whatnot. We'll see if Kamala Harris actually cares enough to go to the border. We'll see. We'll see. But in other news, we'll touch on Mayor Sugerfoot real quick. United Center is closing down its COVID operation at the United Center. They said something like 301,000 people got the jab there. Sounds made up to me because a lot of people didn't want to get in the first place. So, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. Kamala. 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 She's all about the Asian and Pacific Islanders. We'll see if she goes. She's went everywhere in the last 95 days but the border. She's been, that one song, I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. I've been in Oklahoma, Utah, something, that song. Yeah, that's her in the last 95 days. She's been everywhere. Everywhere but the border, where she should have been, but she hasn't been. And she doesn't plan, she's going tomorrow. Always gotta wait for a commercial. Always. Don't own the rights to this one either. This is Kamala. This should be her theme song before she goes to the border. It's Kamala Harris, but the border. But the border. And not Europe. And not the border either. Get a vaccine. I'll come to the Brown Sugar Bakery in Chicago and have a muffin. But the border? No way. This is a little joke. Don't own the rights to that one either. It's Johnny Cash. Uh, she lies all the time. You know, about the number of Asian attacks, brought about votes. Raffensperger, he lied. Everybody. Asian relief, or, yeah, they lied about the hate crime in Atlanta. The dude didn't hate Asian women, he hated sex. And that had to do with sex trafficking. Because, you know, they take care of their own and they'll hush some stuff up. Boom. Dude comes through and shoots a bunch of Asian women and is obsessed with sex, but they made it out to a hate crime and then they signed the bill. So we can't trust Kamala Harris because she's finally going to the border. We'll have more. We'll do it. We'll do a show on her after she comes from the border tomorrow. We don't want to touch Kamala yet, but we'll do a story on her tomorrow. Just a brief touch up on Mayor Sugarfoot. So she got into a fight with Alderman Taylor from the city council yesterday during a city council meeting, where they wouldn't okay one of her lead prosecutor or lead legal somebody because they refused the lawsuit for the lady whose house was ran up into. And this happened 2 years ago, and because she wouldn't take Lightfoot's payout, that now they're blocking her city council vote. Woman.
Every time you drive by an empty or abandoned mall, start visualizing King Kong-sized dollar signs. As out of the ashes of all these mall closures, a truly unprecedented opportunity is right.
Okay, so let me cue this clip. Okay, so the police ran in this lady's house 2 years ago, and Lori Lightfoot was trying to pay this lady off, and she wouldn't take the payout. So at the same time, she's trying to pass her nominee on to the city council, but they don't want her nominee because she refuses ladies' lawsuit against the city because she wouldn't take her payout. So I mean, Lightfoot is just the scum of scum, the scum of scum. And this is the video of the CPD running in this lady's house, the wrong house, and had her standing there naked. And she's pleading.
Chicago police officers stormed into Anjanette Young's home on February 22nd, 2019, attempting to execute a search warrant. But records show the officers had the wrong home. As she stood there, naked and helpless, armed officers searched Young's home.
Putting handcuffs on me while I was naked. No one should have to experience that.
At all.
Young stood with her attorney today in front of Chicago Police Headquarters, calling
Wrong
out
house, wrong place.
They didn't serve me. They didn't protect
Didn't
me.
serve no warrant.
They didn't care about me.
After trying to distance herself from the city's attempt to block the video from being publicly released, Mayor Lightfoot apologized.
I'm deeply sorry.
So Lightfoot tried to block the video from coming out.
Wasn't fair. And that she had to
She didn't want
face
this to come out because she would have to
and
deal with
trauma
it.
that she
And why
has.
wouldn't she want to deal with it?
That is just not right.
No, it's not right.
Simply should not have happened.
It's not right, Mayor Sugarfoot. Nothing you do is right. Your stance on crime, These stabbings that have been going on, these stabbings have been going on in the city since June 12th, and you're just telling people now, June 24th. There have been 3 other stabbings. People, the carjackings are astronomically through the roof. You can't, oh, excuse me, you can't park your car to get gas. You can't park your car to get nothing to eat. You can't park you. Excuse me. You shouldn't be driving in Chicago right now. If you have a car in Chicago, bless your soul. And they're looking for Jeep Cherokees and Dodge Chargers. So if you drive a Jeep Cherokee or a Dodge Charger, be on the lookout. Stabbings, the shootings. We're not even going to talk about the shootings. We'll do another show this weekend. We do a show every day about shootings. 3 people were shot today. I'm sure by the end of the night, another 4 or 5 people will be shot and killed. You know, God rest their souls. God bless them. But Lightfoot doesn't do anything. She's getting fines and fees from her little stoplight cams that you can't even go 6 miles over the speed limit without getting a ticket. What kind of mess is that? You know, the little parking meters we got where you pay to park. No, that money doesn't even go to the city. That's an outside corporation that collects that money. That's from Rahm Emanuel days, and then Lightfoot just decided to extend it. And then the whole no programs for youth, no money for the police. You're trying to defund them, and then you're trying to snake your way through to appoint somebody that's not even appointed. You know. And then you fight with the city council because you got your little COVID powers and you're scared to give them up. You know, here we go. Boom. Right here. Fighting with the councilwoman. Fighting with Councilwoman Taylor because you can't get your way. Because your COVID time is out. They see through the sham of a person you are and how you're hollow and have no soul.
Chicago City Council meeting. Good afternoon. I'm Sally Schultz.
According to Attorney for Anthony, that meeting was
People's not going for the okie doke. Need to get Mayor Lightfoot out of there and take David Brown with her.
To rename Lakeshore Drive was tabled and pushed to Friday after aldermen refused to approve the mayor's pick for corporate council.
Here it was, the mayor's pick for corporate council.
Not adjourn this meeting because according to our rules of order, according to our rules and regulations, there were several Rule 41s that were posted that have to be addressed at this meeting.
Standing up and yelling without seeking recognition is not something that's appropriate. We're going to Alderman Harris.
This fight revolves around the botched Chicago police raid of Anjanette Young's home. She was left standing naked and handcuffed when police got the wrong home. This is video of that incident. Last week, the mayor's pick for corporate council, who she was looking to get approved today, filed a motion to dismiss Young's lawsuit against the city. The city reportedly wanted to settle for $1 million, but Young's lawyers viewed the offer as too low. And what you're looking at
Sugarfoot about that life. She getting about it.
at the back of the council chamber.
Make it say, Laurie Sugarfoot.
Today, a small group of aldermen brazenly created a spectacle. She went on to blame the aldermen for preventing votes on actions that would provide relief to hotel workers. The council did approve the first black woman to serve as Chicago Fire Commissioner.
That's awesome. But is she qualified? Okay, so let's get into that. Mayor Sugarfoot fighting with city council members, you know. Old girl was about to lay Mayor Sugarfoot down. Like, we in these streets. I don't care who you are, Mr. Mayor. I'll knock you down like it's Chinatown. She later on had an interview later in the night saying that Mayor Sugarfoot was being disrespectful and talking down to her like a child. And she said that she wants to work together. In order for Chicago to strive, they have to work together. You know, they don't work for her. You know, they work for the people, for their district. And that's what she went on to say later, Alderman Taylor. So, you know, no one... Mayor Sugarfoot is about gender inequalities. She's talking about there's a whole town up north called Boys Town, and she's worried that gay people don't get enough gender inequalities. Okay, well, I don't know what she's talking about. She got that COVID money, now she's feeling good, but she can't pay off none of the city debt, which she amassed She can't do that with none of the COVID money. Nope, she's got to swallow that bullet. But I mean, we'll see what else she tries to do with the COVID money. It should be going out to helping small businesses and families hit hard by the pandemic. But we'll see. South Side still needs to be rebuilt. It does. It still looks horrible. It looks worse than before the riots. I mean, it was already bad before the riots, but the South and the West Side need some work, need some more policing, need some help with everything involved, from schools to witness protection to helping people. Everything from the COVID money should be going to the South and West Side and high crime areas around Chicago. Um, uh, Remote learning stats are horrible. She just did wrong, terrible. I mean, if your child graduated this year, be blessed. I'm happy for him because keeping kids out of school all year, bad move, Sugerfoot. Um, Youth arrested, it's horrible. Carjackings, retouched murders. I mean, at this point, she should just turn over the city of Chicago to the National Guard. I mean, because she's not doing her job. Superintendent Brown's not doing his job, and crime, carjackings, murders, carjackings, and babies dying in the street at a high level and rapid numbers is just depressing and sad, and it's not right. No one in America, no one in this country, no one in the world should be able to live like this, where you have systems set in place and you have government and people set there to protect you, yet there's still a murder every 30 seconds, every hour, every 30 minutes, every 2 hours, every 3 hours, every weekend. It's like clockwork, like clockwork. But we'll keep our push to get Mayor Sugarfoot out. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. No, we're not going to talk about the shooting in Boulder, but we are talking about critical race theory. There we go. There we go. Critical race theory. All right. Um, where do we start with this? I've been reading. I've been looking up on it for the last couple of days, and it is horrible. Horrible, 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 horrible. So, those of you who don't know, critical race theory ties into the 1619 Project, which is also it ties into the 1619 Project. Critical race theory is also associated with critical legal theory or something. Something I read. Hold on, I'm reading it right now too. But critical race theory ties into the 1619 Project, which was put out because they heard that President Trump was putting out a 1776 project, which his project actually tells like portions of history, all of history, where the focus is not slavery as much as it is American history, slavery. His approach to it was he was going to do like Germany did and just tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth about the Holocaust and what happened. So that was his approach. But the 1619 Project and critical race theory would have you believe that slavery and 1619, the first days where the first day where uh, slaves came over in droves and we came over for years, that was the start of America. Okay, let's clear something up real quick. That was not the start of America at 1619 because that was still the British Empire, people. Think about that. The French, the Spaniards, the Europeans, the Chinese, I'm believing, or Asians continent. Anybody who could sail a boat or navigate the water back then was coming to America with slaves, trading slaves. It's just Europeans, the British, had the best navy, more gunpowder or gun power, and all this other stuff. Reason for Second Amendment. Think about it. Uh, so critical race theory their first meeting was in 1989. It was the official meeting for critical race theory. It was their first annual workshop, but it goes back further to the 60s and 70s, and it was started by a cat named Richard Delgado. It was first started in critical legal studies back in the 60s and 70s, and this was to examine Jim Crow laws, basically. So just like the Democrats always do, they'll make a bunch of laws and then come around and make a commission to see why these laws are working or not working or how they work, and then still not doing anything about it. Like they're making commissions to examine crime in the neighborhood, policing and jailing and all this, but still don't do nothing about it. So it was the first meeting of it was in '89. They started it back in the '60s and '70s, and it started with the Soviets, the Marxists, and they were just looking at different races and seeing how the man was being oppressed, the black man was being oppressed, and we were, I'm not gonna lie, the laws and the American system, for the most part, has not worked well for black folks. Jim Crow era, Civil Rights era, slavery, the Civil War era, even up to now, some laws don't work for black folks. It depends on if you're committing a crime, if you're not committing a crime, if you want to live somewhere, if you want to move somewhere. These laws exist, these things exist, but there's nothing out there saying, well, if you're black, you can't do this. But there are laws in some parts of the country, and even in some banks and some areas of finance, where your loan is higher. Immigrants have smaller loans and the payback, because I don't know why, but the loans are higher. Red zones are typically, So my thing is, if these laws exist and they're racist laws or systematically racist laws or whatever, just get rid of them. Get them out the books. Don't keep talking about them and saying, "Oh, we got to do this to change." Just get rid of the law. It's not that important. It's not a life or death law. I mean, there's only the Ten Commandments, really. So if you're not following those, golden rule, all that. So I mean, come on. Let's stop. We know these laws and this practice exists. Just get rid of the laws and the practice. These old racist people can't live forever. It's old racist people in powers of position that enforce these laws and put this. It's not systematically racist. It's not set up for you to fail. You're not oppressed. You know, black people aren't oppressed. Asian people aren't oppressed. Everybody's not oppressed. There's no white rule over the world. It's you're accountable for your own actions. I'm gonna judge you about how the content of your character, not the color of your skin, like Dr. King said, and we're gonna move forward from that. Respect is earned. Respect is not given. I'm not gonna respect you just because you're black and you think you're oppressed. And this is coming from black men, or you're white and you think you're super, or what's the word for over oppressed people? I mean, superior, I guess. No one's superior above you but God. So I mean, and even He's not superior above you. He's just God and Jesus. Works its way down. I don't know. It makes sense when it's coming out of my head. So it says that the laws in America are racist. We covered that. I mean, like, yes, no. For the most part, I've never read a law or saw a law that said if you're black you can't do this. Maybe in Jim Crow laws, Jim Crow era, one drop rule slavery laws, the Second Amendment. Joe Biden said something about that where certain people couldn't own or have guns because if you're a slave or a black person, you couldn't own guns back then. There's a lot of stuff in the Constitution. Some of it is racist, the amendments, all that stuff. Where if you were black people or a descendant of a slave, you couldn't own property, so and so. The brown paper bag rule, when there's a black person that's the color of a brown paper bag over than you, who is more darker. I mean, the rules are out there, or the laws are out there. There's some parts of the country where this stuff still exists. Sundown counties where you can't be in a certain county after sundown. I mean, these places exist, but only because the people make it exist. You understand? It's not the rules. It's the people who enforce them and start them and have this. This power, this dominion over stuff. I mean, you have all these people screaming everything's racist, everything's racist. You got Don Lemon screaming everything's racist. This fool got a black lipped chef in his kitchen talking about everything's racist, everything's racist. So I mean, come on, Don. Come on, Don Lemon. Don Lemon. You got Mayor Sugarfoot saying everything is racist. Most of these black people screaming that everything's racist are in positions of power where they've came up in the game. I just saw a quote the other day from Anthony Mackie saying that he's racist or white folks are going to keep him down. Bruh, you've been with Marvel for the last 6, 7 years. They gave you a show and made you Captain America. You are Captain America, and you're saying that people are racist? How? How does that work? How does that work? You got the Oprahs, the Jay Z's, athletes, chefs, the Obamas, screaming everything's racist. How? America voted for you for 8 years. Did they or didn't they? I mean, you be the judge. Most beloved president and first lady of all time. I'd like to thank everybody. I'd like to thank the black people for the votes. I'd like to thank the white people that like black people for the votes. I'd like to thank everybody in America for the votes. I mean, he went full blast for 8 years. People loved Obama. Loved Obama. You know? So how's he out saying everything's racist? Them alone could have stopped all the riotings, the murders last year. They could have brought that to an ease with just a few statements. You know, that's how much power they have. That's how much power they command and sway. You know, but they didn't want to. They instead sat back and decided to play the race card, which was wrong, and still wrong because they're still trying to play it. You know, get a grip. It's not that racist. So people don't walk around spending their day thinking about racism all the time and who they can help. Okay, so apparently, according to critical race theory, black folks are allowed to speak on gays, can ID as women, lesbians, feminists, and Christians regarding racism. These are forms of discrimination. Yeah, this isn't racism. Like speaking on gays, women, or men who want to ID as women, women who want to ID as men, lesbians, feminists, and Christian. These aren't forms of racism. This has nothing to do with critical race theory. These are forms of discrimination. You know, like if you're black and gay, I wouldn't know you're gay until you told somebody you're gay. But I know you're black. You see what I'm saying? White and gay, I wouldn't know you're gay unless But people just see colors. Everybody wants to see color, and be offended by color. But some of the best people I know are gay. Some of the best people I know are white. Some of the best people I know are Asian. For all of God's creatures are some of the most awesome people in the world that I know, I hang out with, I love, I appreciate, and I respect. And I don't need critical race theory or them telling me that I'm oppressed, because I know I'm not oppressed. They know they're not oppressed. So I don't understand where this oppression comes from. And these are millionaires and people in power telling you that they're oppressed. Black mayors, black police chiefs, black actors, black actresses, black congressmen and women, black senators telling you that there's racism. You're in a position of power to change, and yet all you want to do is talk about it. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. And it's a reoccurring thing that with critical race theory and the Black Lives Matter movement, that it's always LGBTQ. It's never just black folks. It's always LGBTQ. They want to indoctrinate. They want to throw out Western civilization thinking for critical race theory. They want to throw out Western civilization thinking for Black Lives Matter in the family household. So why are you trying to? You're not instilling a sense of pride, more or less putting a sense of doubt as our race, as our culture. You're not digging back to find the records of our people, for our people, by our people, but you want to forget about our history and just pinpoint all the negative things in our history. No one wants to just dwell on slavery. We're more than just slavery. We're artists. We're painters. We're pioneers. We're pilots. We're soldiers. We're presidents. We're vice presidents. We're congressmen. We're senators. We're policemen. We're firemen. We're astronauts, we're physicists, we're mathematicians, we're teachers, we're the list just goes on. You know, we make history. We're part of American history. There's no black history. There's no American history without black history. There's no black history without American history. Without, you can argue 1619, but without 1776, there's no September 22nd, 1863, that led to June 19th, 1865. Okay, there's no Abe Lincoln. Okay, there's no John F. Kennedy. There's no Ronald Reagan. There's no Donald Trump. There's no I mean, the list goes on. There's no Sojourner Truth. There's no Harriet Tubman. There's no W.E.B. Du Bois. There's no Nat Cole. There's no Satchel Paige. There's no Hank Aaron. There's no Sojourner Truth. Did I say Sojourner Truth already? I think I did. There's no B.B. King. There's no James Brown. There's no Ray Charles. There's no Stevie Wonder. There's no Jesus. The list goes on and on. There's no FloJo. There's no Carl Lewis, you know. There's no Frederick Douglass, you know. The list goes on of people. There's no 52nd and Massachusetts Regiment, you know. There's no Red Tails. There's no Tuskegee Airmen, you know. The list goes on and on. You don't have to teach critical race theory because these men and women weren't oppressed. They weren't down. They weren't. They were looked down upon. They frowned, and they fought, and they got up like real men and women, and they proved to America why we deserve to be here, why we are here, why we need to be here. Me and my friend Jan Michael, we're talking about quotes, and one of our favorite quotes, I'll loosely quote it, is "We have to be the firemen burning or running into the house of the burning building, and that burning building being America." It's a longer quote by Dr. King. He loves it. He quoted it. He fixed it, and I love the man for it. You know, but you know, they want bringing the Latinx, the Muslims, the natives. It's about welfare, voting rights, justice, hate crimes, affirmative action, immigration, and police brutality. You know, all these things exist. They exist. You see them every day in the news, every day in life. The Latinx, they're Latinas or Latinos. You know, and there's no Latinx. You know, and all these things don't have to do with critical. I mean, the natives got what they got. The Jews got what they got. Latinos get what they get. You know, if you're trying to empower black people and bring up black people, all these other races and people know who they are, know where they come from, have long, rich heritage. It's time for black people to embrace theirs and talk about theirs, the good, the bad, the ugly. But you have to, at one point, you have to accept the fact that we're Americans. We are here as black folks. We are Americans. We are here. This is our country. If you want to go somewhere else, you don't like the flag, leave. Leave. There's what, 183 other countries you could go to? Leave. I guarantee you won't have none of the same freedoms, none of the same anything you will like you will here in America. The good, the bad, or the ugly. But if you don't like it here, leave. But this critical race theory and teaching people how to hate people, no, that's not it. That's not it. And that's not the thing. That's not the way to go. And that's not what people want. It's not right, and it's not what we stand for. You know, we want to be judged by content or character. You know, we don't care to be judged by anything else. You don't look at me. I'm not oppressed. I don't think of myself as oppressed. You know, what kind of person thinks of themselves as oppressed all day? I love my life. I love people. I get up and meet people all day.
King lived for, what he fought for, and what he died for.
You know,
In his I Have a Dream speech, which happened in 1963 on August 28th, he talked about the promissory note of America, the American dream embedded in the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence.
This nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
He spoke of his dream that one day his children would be judged not on the color of their skin, but based on the content of their character. I think that dream is as important today as it ever was before, particularly as the politics of intersectionality and the silos that demagogues want to divide us by based on the color of our skin, our ethnicity, our religion, our sex, our sexual preference. That's not what Martin Luther King was talking about. The opposite is true. We're all equal. We're all looking for a place where we can be treated the same by the laws of the.
I wanted you to hear from Dr. King's voice.
Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. I'm happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
Man about principles. I mean, there's stories out there about him, but from who he was and what he stood for, I got behind him 100%. And that's how I've strived my life.
Years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation.
The Little Rock Nine,
This
the bus
moment
boycotts.
came
We wouldn't have black congressional Congress, which doesn't do nothing. We have a black justice of Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas. It all comes from Jim Crow laws. We wouldn't have so much joy, so much progress that has been made for black folks. And we're not done. The country's still young, so is our fight. We're not done. We just want, and honestly, just tell all the history. Just tell all the history. All of it. John Brown led the raid at Harper's Ferry with him and his man. He was hanged with him and his man, but that's one of the sparks for the Civil War. And John Brown was a white man.
And the chains of discrimination 100 years later. The Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former
What's up, big man?
will be
Hey,
able to sit down together.
show's almost over. We can play.
I have a dream.
My son just got up.
One day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious races, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and notification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Preach it.
I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted. Every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And behold, the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is
Okay. So, in closing, let's all try to be a little more like Dr. King. A little less like the racist Democrats who think everything's racist and critical race theory is the way to go. because it's not. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't fix anything. It's not here to last. People don't think like that. People don't want to live like that. I'm not going to live in fear. I know anybody I know is not going to live in fear. We're just not made like that. The country needs to come together. The country has to heal. If not, no one wants another civil war. No one wants to keep fighting. I mean, to be honest with you, this critical race theory, it deletes and puts a sour taste in your mouth about all the great things that black people have accomplished and black people are accomplishing. Because all you want to do is focus on racism. And this, that, and everything's racist. This is racist. Well, me for one, I'm done with that. We don't need racism every day in our life. I'm going to teach my sons continuously to love people and, whether they treat you one way or another, you have to decide how you want to be treated. You bow to no man, only God. And even then, you better come with some humbleness and some humility in your heart. And if people don't start waking up and loving thy neighbor and trying to push everything's racist, it's going to continue to get worse. And for the sake of our children, they won't learn and they will hate everybody. Children are made to be children. Children can find out who children are by being children. Children don't need you in their face all the time saying this person's racist, that's racist, he's racist, she's racist. Oh, we hate Potato Head because he's racist. No, that's not how the world is. It's not how love is. It's not how God wants you to live. And that's not how we're going to live. So, in that closing, join us tomorrow. Well, we'll give you an update on Kamala, Miss Harris, and continue to believe that not all people are racist, and there's no such thing as critical race theory. And if your kids are being taught critical race theory in school, take them out. Start reading them, feed them books, letting them know who people are. You can Google just about everything, or you can go to the library and find it yourself. All right. Thank you guys. God bless. And we'll see you next time on the BNN. You're not on the rights to this. Tomorrow, more info on the rise and fall of Mayor Sugerfoot. You need to know. Yes, you are. Wale!